Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and I'm back with another movie review. And this movie was brought to me by Peacock, and it's called The Comeback, starring April Jones and Tay Zig, and a small cameo appearance by Nazinga Imani, aka Angela from Zatima and Sisters. So let's get into it. So, Tay Diggs stars as Jeff, and April stars as Tisa. So they're both married. They live in Kansas City, Missouri. Jeff is I wouldn't say CEO, but he has a position. He works at a black-owned media company. So he's kind of like in, I guess, HR. Yeah. And Tisa is a news anchor or a field reporter. So they live in Kansas City. They also have, I think they have a daughter. I'm not sure how old her age is. Probably like 9 or 10 years old. So they living the good life and whatnot. So Jeff hates his job. Tisa, she's been doing good with her job. That she gets offered a new position to be a primetime desk anchor. So she's super excited about that. Also, on top of that, she finds out that she's pregnant again. So that day prior to this, the daughter, she's making, they moved, they got a new house, and they showed her pregnancy and all that other stuff. So now if fast forwards to like 10 years later, and the daughter, she's on her bed in her room making a wish to God that she wants a baby brother. And after she says her prayer, she say amen, and she goes to sleep. So the next morning, Jeff is getting ready for work, and Tisa, she's laying in the bed, kind of asleep, and she ends up, how you soft moan and stretch. She did one of those, and next, he went over there to wake her up, and they was like, if you don't start nothing, there won't be nothing. So they started having this little, I don't know, to me it was funny. So it was playful. It's you could see the chemistry that they have off camera, on camera. So it was just perfect. So they started acting like they was the lions for the Lion King, calling him Simba, whatever, asking him to go get the baby oil out the dresser so he could rub it on himself, and they start getting enticing or whatever. So they start making all these noises, and next their daughter, Raylan or Rayleigh, comes in, and she call her Ray for short, and she was like, "What are you doing? Why are you so oily?" They was like, "Shouldn't you be getting ready for school?" She was like, "I was, but I started hearing all these noises, sounding like we were from the zoo." It was like, what? So eventually they was like, oh, they made up a thing saying because they like to pray. So the mom was very prayerful over him, and she put all this oil on him. And they was like, well, just go get ready for school. You need some prayer too. So they leave and get ready. Next, they was going to finish, what they started. But that didn't happen. Tisa got called in for work. So she said she promised she'll make it up to him. So she gets the call. She goes to report about a looting that happened at a beauty supply store. And she's talking to the manager of her store. Come to find out the manager was robbing the store next door. Listen, I gotta restock my shelves. And then after people were stealing the stuff from in the background, one lady stole a wig off the lady's head. She was like, how your wig have a wig? She literally had wigs on top of wigs. So how they do the disappearing act of the shades and stuff is keep going, get going and going. That's what her hair was like. So yeah, she did that. She said, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, period. That's facts. So after she covered that story, whatever, Jeff gets to his job, and he gets I guess, a folder of complaints from two of his employees. It happens to be Max and Terry. Like, they have this office relationship going on. So basically, Terry, she's voluptuous in all the right places. So what may consider like flashy to others is like okay for her. So she comes in, whatever, like, that's a nice blouse. I mean, it did show a little bit too much, but it was cute. And then you got Max was next to her, like, ooh, get it. And they was like talking about the complaints. And let's just say after they said what they said, Jeff was just like, he told him to get out. And he was like, listen, I hate my job. I hate my job. I hate my job. So fast forward, that same day, Tisa gets a call that she's getting picked for the new position, like I just told y'all. And she also finds out she's pregnant. So now that they get home, Jeff gets a half day. Well, he took a half day. And he's talking to Tisa. And he's telling her, she's telling him about her job. And he basically hates his job. So he was like, listen, that was enough for her in the day and itself. So she tells him that they gotta move to Atlanta in 3 weeks. And he was like, ugh. But then again, at the same time, she was like, you just said that you hate your job, so that's be a perfect opportunity for you to start your own job like you want to do from years ago. So that was that. By that time, the daughter done came home from school, and they're talking one night. Next thing you know, the daughter she was like, are y'all getting the divorce? And they was like, what? No. He was like, she was like, okay, because, they're looking like that, but I was hoping I would get 2 birthdays or whatnot. So basically, the dad said the mom has something to tell her. So basically, Tisa told the daughter that, we're moving to Atlanta. And she was like, Georgia? She was like, yeah. So they was happy. They was happy about that. Then they started packing up their stuff. Next thing you know, Jeff calls his mom because he haven't spoke to his mom in some time. So with Tisa's help, she nudged him to call. He speaks to his mom. The mom is basically hurt that, Tisa supposedly took her son away from her. And eventually she got sick after his dad died. So, fast forward. They get to Atlanta. Jeff's been looking at pictures of his ex, Melanie. Come to find out, when they get there, Melanie's been like a regular to the house. So his mother calls her family. His mother's name is Diane. So they get there. It's a whole argument. Tisa walks out and she's fuming. And the mom was like, let her, walk it off. But then at the same time, Jeff goes after her. So before then, she's walking, really mad or whatever. He's calling her to see where she's at. She's not answering the phone. She ended up bumping into this guy. His name is Michael. And, that was that. So she gets back to the house. He's waiting for her outside. And Diane and her boo, Calvin, they're listening to it at the door. And they basically hashed it out. And then they go inside. Because when they first got to the house, they was asking who was there. Nobody answered. So Diane had her headphones on, dancing to this music, and Ray and Tisa was recording, and Jeff was like, you can't do that. And that's, he sees Calvin come out of the room, like, and then Tisa was like, there's a minor here, put some clothes on, or shirt on, and he does just that. So then after they finish talking, Jeff and Tisa go inside, and Diane and Calvin scrambled to sit down, and Jeff asked for a family meeting. He basically said, listen, I want to be like treated like as such, like don't treat me as like an outcast or a stranger, but this is the house I grew up in, and y'all need to be more respectful of me, Tisa, and Ray. And yeah, and they also decided that they're going to stay at the mom's house because their house wasn't ready for a few weeks or whatever. So that was the case. So as they're, staying there, readjusting and getting used to the Atlanta life like they used to do, they started bonding with each other. Like, Basically, Jeff apologized to his mom for not being there as much when she was sick, and like helped make her feel like she was alienated by her own son. But he told her like that wasn't the case, between this and that, like Melanie should just fall back and stuff like that. So they basically got on one accord. Then Calvin took him out to the store to pick up some things, and he wanted to get something for Ray. In the store, they came across one of these like AI dolls. Kind of found out it was a real baby. Like kicked him in his knee, and that was that. So later on that night, they get back home. Jeff is enjoying a piece of red velvet cake, and just so happens, Melanie comes in again in the house with, I guess she's on the phone with his mother, and the mother basically has her packages sent to her house so that, Melanie can just bring them back over. And she has a key, so that was that. So eventually they got off the phone. Jeff and Melanie had some words, and she was like, oh, I got to go back to the station. Come to find out, Melanie is a makeup artist at the station where Tisa now works, Channel 4. So they get there, they have a confrontation. Meanwhile, Jeff is trying to call Tisa to tell her, like, listen, y'all both work at the same station, but that didn't get a chance to happen. And, she finds out on her own. So the lady was rushing to get Tisa onto the stage, and Melanie they basically fake introduced themselves to each other. And she put powder on her face, and Melanie was telling Tisa to stay still, but she wouldn't listen, so she eventually got up. And she went on to the air, and she had all this powder all over her face. Eventually, they had to, like, disrupt the service so that they can, tell her about her face. She looked at the mirror. She was like, what the heck happened? And then, yeah, that was that. So later on that night, she gets home, and Jeff was trying to tell her, like, this is what happened. She was like, so you knew all along that she worked there? And he was like, no, that's the case. So them two got into a little argument. She storms off and she heads down to the bar. Come to find out, Michael works at the bar, so they talk and whatever. He ends up, dedicating a song to her about this girl named Angel who sings. And let's just say they had a great night. She eventually, like, apologized. Like, this was a good time or whatever, but I realized I wasn't being a good wife. So she goes home, and both Jeff and Tisa say sorry to each other. They hug it out or whatever. So now it's like the next day where Diane it's making dinner, and her and Tisa, no, I guess Diane wanted her to have a moment, but Diane also stood for her that Tisa took her son away from her. But Tisa's trying to make amends. She was like, listen, the past is the past. Let's just move forward and start over. And Diane wanted her to stir some ice in. Then she was like, pour her a drink, and then she was like, I'm good. So, oh yeah, wow. Tisa was rushed off to set. She left her phone behind, and Melanie found out that she was pregnant. So late the next day, they get to the house. They finish cooking dinner. Tisa wanted to make amends with Diane, but Diane was like, okay, I'm cool, and thanks for helping. So that whatever. So later on that day, they sit down having dinner and enjoying everything that she cooked. The daughter was happy that the food was good. Jeff the same way. Next, they having a good time. Melanie comes in and sit down for dinner. And let's just say she stirred up some things. She let out the cat out the bag that Tisa was pregnant. And Jeff was like, is that true? She was like, listen, I can't. But before then, the mother Diane kicked Melanie out the house because she was being messy. So she headed back to the station. Next thing you know, Tisa was just like, I can't talk about this. And then she heads back to the station. She thanks Diane for the food and whatnot, and that was that. So after that whirlwind of a thing, Jeff decides to goes to the station to, like, profess his love to her, and he basically tells her how he feels and whatnot. And she was like, thank you. He basically was on board with her being pregnant and wanting more kids, because I looked like from the beginning he didn't want kids. He didn't want no more kids. He felt like the added pressure was just too much. But now that, they've been there, for like a month now, they realized that, times are changing. Like, it's a good thing, whether it feel like it's bad, but it's a good thing. Children are a blessing, so that was cool. After he professes her love to her, it's what, 2 weeks later, Tisa and Melanie, they talked it out. She invites her to the house on the behalf of Diane, because, you know, Melanie was around when when she was sick. So she was like, okay, that's cool. And next, you know, she basically says to everybody that she's pregnant. And the great thing about it is when they told the daughter, she was like, that's cool because I already prayed about it. And then when she was talking to her dad about it, she was like, I prayed for a brother, but then I was thinking about I want a brother, sister, brother. So now he's thinking triplets, and now he got his mind all confused. And then he tells Tisa, like, listen, triplets. Like, are we having triplets or whatever? She's like, I don't think so. But whatever. Next you know, Ray goes up to her room and she's thanking God for the brother, but she's hoping for triplets. And then at the same moment, the dad pulls in when she's about to say trip. And he's like, looks up to the sky, was like, and closed the window. Like, I don't think bad about this movie. I wish it was a little bit longer. Like, it's kind of was like a rushed along thing, but to my surprise, it had a happy ending. It was a lot of funny parts in it, so it was like, if y'all got Peacock, definitely check it out because it's a good, fun, wholesome movie. Only thing was like the language a little bit derogatory, but that was alright. That was cool, but you know, it was cool, and it was great to see like the chemistry between April and Tay, like on screen, like not just what you see in reality. They like that 24/7, so that was a vibe. Definitely a great movie to check out if you want a good laugh. So with that being said, I'll see y'all the next one. Bye.